Abraham Lincoln, 1809–1865, was the 16th President of the United States, serving from March 1861 until his assassination in April 1865. He is widely regarded as one of the greatest American presidents, particularly for his leadership during the Civil War and his efforts to end slavery. Here is a brief biography of Abraham Lincoln. Early life. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a log cabin in Hardin County, now LaRue County, Kentucky. His family later moved to Indiana and then settled in Illinois. Lincoln grew up in a poor family, and his formal education was limited, but he was an avid reader and largely self-educated. He worked various jobs, including rail splitting and store clerking. Legal and political career. Lincoln began his career as a lawyer, gaining a reputation for his honesty and effectiveness. He served in the Illinois State Legislature and the U.S. House of Representatives, but lost a bid for a seat in the U.S. Senate in 1858 to Stephen A. Douglas in a series of famous debates. However, his debates with Douglas raised his national profile, presidential campaign, and Civil War. In 1860, Lincoln was elected as the first Republican president of the United States. His election prompted several Southern states to secede from the Union, leading to the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861. Lincoln's primary goal during the war was to preserve the Union. He faced the immense challenge of leading the country through its bloodiest conflict, making crucial decisions such as issuing the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which declared that all slaves in Confederate-held territory, Emancipation Proclamation, and the 13th Amendment. The Emancipation Proclamation marked a significant shift in the war's purpose, linking the Union's cause to the abolition of slavery. Lincoln pushed for the passage of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which ultimately abolished slavery in the United States. The amendment was ratified in December 1865, a few months after Lincoln's death. Assassination and Legacy. Abraham Lincoln's life was tragically cut short when he was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth on April 14, 1865, while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. He died the following day, making him the first U.S. president to be assassinated. Here are some facts that you may not have heard before. Lincoln was born in a one-room log cabin in Kentucky and had very little formal education. He taught himself law and became a successful lawyer and politician. Lincoln suffered from depression and had a troubled marriage with Mary Todd, who was also mentally unstable. They lost 3 of their 4 sons to illness, and Lincoln often consulted spiritualists to communicate with them. Lincoln was an avid reader and writer who wrote his own speeches and letters. He was also fond of poetry and humor, and sometimes wrote anonymous satires for newspapers. He even composed a poem about his childhood home. Lincoln was a skilled wrestler and a fan of sports. He once challenged an opponent to a duel, but chose a sword as his weapon, knowing that his long arms would give him an advantage. The duel was called off at the last minute. Lincoln was the first president to be assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer and actor. He was shot in the head while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. His last words were "She won't think anything of it" to his wife, who wanted to hold his hand.